Assalamu alaikum and hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture 4 in this series that intends to cover Aristotle's Poetics, a work that was composed in 5th century BCE. This lecture particularly covers Aristotle's concept of plot, his guidelines about the construction of an ideal plot, do's and don'ts that dramatists must be aware of, and students of literature and drama must also be familiar with these concepts and these ideas in order to analyze, appreciate, and evaluate literary worth of any piece of literature, be it drama, be it novel, or be it any narrative poetry. So let's start. As you know that Aristotle has devoted much of his poetics to the discussion of tragedy, and he has given us six constituent elements of tragedy. Among these six constituent elements, plot is considered the most important element of a tragedy. He goes to the extent of saying that plot is the soul of a tragedy, it is the content of tragedy, and he defines it as arrangement of incidents or event in a narrative or a dramatic composition. It provides structure and organization to the story. Aristotle believes that a good plot should be unified, it should be complete, and it must possess certain magnitude. These are the basic and essential requirements as elaborated by Aristotle for the construction of an ideal plot, and we are going to discuss them one by one. So, first of all, you must not confuse plot with the story. These are two distinct ideas, and Aristotle's Poetics also highlights the differentiation between plot and story. Story refers to the raw events or the incidents. These incidents or events can be vague, can be confusing because they are very much raw. Whereas plot refers to the arrangement or organization of those events. Now, be very careful and pay attention. In Greek, the term poet meant maker. Poet is called maker not because he makes verses or he makes stories. He is called maker because he makes plots. So, plot making activity has been given very significance. The poet might borrow a story from tradition, but he has to make his own plots out of it. So Aristotle believes that the poet need not make up the story. He can take any traditional story, he can take story from mythology or from the society, but plot has to be made by the poet. It is a little bit a difficult distinction, but remember that story can be haphazard, story can be chaotic, story can be vague and confusing, but it is the dramatic skill and the duty of the artist and the dramatist to impose some kind of pattern and design on that chaotic material of life. So the plot involves the arrangement of incident and events into a coherent pattern. Remember the distinction made by E.M. Forster in his book Aspects of Novel, where he says that king died and queen died. That is story. And when we say that king died and the queen died out of grief, that is the plot. So plot highlights the causal connection between two events. So plot relies upon the principle of cause and effect, and it is the duty and the dramatic skill of any plot constructor to highlight the cause and effect between two distinct episodes or two different actions. So in plot, the two different episodes or two different actions are logically and causally connected. We can easily see that one action or one move is leading to another action or another move. So, the next important point about the construction of plot is that it must have a clear beginning, it must have a solid middle, and a solid end as well. Beginning is a situation which does not necessarily follow anything but is followed by later incidents. It introduces the situation and sets the stage for the later action. A plot is some kind of narrative, and the beginning, according to Aristotle, must be clear. It should be self sufficient, it should be self contained, it should be behaving like a foundation. So there is no need to ask how or why regarding the events that are being presented on the stage. We should not have any kind of question at the beginning of the drama, that why it is happening. Then comes middle. Middle follows something and some incident follow it through causal connection. It develops the plot and create tension. You must remember that middle proceeds from the events of the beginning and then it develops the conflict, it heightens the tension, and here the climax reaches to the maximum, and then it leads towards the end. And follows some incident, but nothing follows it. Nothing comes after the end. It resolves all the conflict and provides a sense of closure. At the end, the audience or the readers are not left with any kind of questions or any kind of queries. All the puzzles, all the conflict, all the riddles are solved, and you get a sense of closure at the end. So here we come to know that all incidents, the incidents in the drama, in the plot, they should follow one another in logically connected sequence, and they should not be haphazard, or they should not be arranged randomly. There shouldn't be any kind of coincidence or chance or irrelevance or supernatural events. Rather, one event should be cause of the next event. As far as the magnitude of the plot is concerned, Aristotle believes that a plot should have a suitable magnitude to achieve its purpose. Now, you must remember that the purpose of the tragedy is catharsis. Being the purpose of the tragedy is catharsis, that is to arouse the emotions of pity and the fear among the audience. Magnitude should be of certain length as to cater and invoke the emotions of pity and fear among the audience. Tragedy is essentially a drama that captures the reversal of fortune of the protagonist from happiness to the misery. So remember, if the plot is too short, it should not be enough to develop the story and the characters. So plot should not be too short. If it should not be too long. If the plot is too long, audience would not be able to retain it in their memories and to engage with it as a coherent whole. So plot should not be too short, it should not be too long. Unity and coherence. The plot, if the plot is well structured, well crafted, it should have a clear beginning, middle and end, and the action should be unified whole. So Aristotle believes that beauty of the plot depends upon its size. He compares it to the living object. If a living object is too small, it cannot be fully appreciated. You would not be able to differentiate its parts separately, and you would not be able to analyze it and appreciate it distinctly. On the other hand, if a living organism is too long and too large, you would not be able to see it as a coherent whole in a single view. So he believes in the golden mean, that magnitude should be of certain length where the protagonist experiences downfall and it is very convincing and logical. Aristotle time and again insists for the organic unity of the plot. Aristotle compares the action of a tragedy to a living organism. Like in a living organism, each organ is essential and each part maintains its relationship to the other parts. If you remove one part of any organism, one organ of any organism, the living organism might not be able to survive. So is the case with tragic plot. If you remove any line, any action, any character, any episode, it might not be able to survive. If it survives, then it was not a well constructed plot. Every episode is the integral part of the whole. Unity of plot is essential. Unity of action here is very important point. The unity of action does not refer to the unity of hero or unity of the character. Unity of life cannot be equated with the unity of a plot. Life is not a plot. Aristotle says the events of a life, even the life of an imaginary character, must be sorted and organized. Remember that many things happen in the life of a person. We cannot make plot out of all these events happening to the in the life of a single character. We must be selecting only one and the relevant event, and then design it in such a way to arouse feelings of pity and fear among the audience. So action must be revolving around one episode, one relevant event. This is very important point. Aristotle believes that plot must be governed by law of probability and necessity. Well, law of probability and necessity is a very important point. It indicates that event in a story should unfold in a way that is either likely to happen or must happen given the circumstances, characters, and actions. It means that given the situation or given the circumstances, provided the circumstances, if you are entrapped in such like circumstances, you would also behave like the characters in the drama are behaving. Take the example of Oedipus. If you hear the prophecy that you are going to murder your father and you are going to marry your own mother, what would be your reaction? Definitely, you are trying your utmost to evade such kind of situation. You are going to perhaps leave your parents, you are going to flee from the spot. So, because Oedipus' actions are governed by human nature. So human nature remains same. So given the situation and provided the circumstances, you would also behave like that. So this is the law of probability and necessity. If the situation is same, if the circumstances are same, all people would react in a similar way. Action should be guided by the rules of human nature and the demand of the situation. So here Aristotle also differentiates between poetry and history. Aristotle believes that history records what has happened, whereas poetry and tragedy aims to portray what could happen, what might happen, governed by the rules of probability and necessity. So here we come to know that the scope of poetry is much broader. Now this is very important concept and you must understand it. Aristotle believes that a likely impossibility is preferable to unlikely possibility in plot construction. uh, what is unlikely impossibility or likely impossibility? Well, likely impossibility or probable impossibility means that there are events in or situations in real life that are very impossible to happen, but when they are presented within the context of action in such a way by the dramatist that they appear very convincing, where they appear very likely and very logical, and we readily believe in them. Remember the story Button when Norma presses the button, her husband dies. Well, in real life such kind of situation is impossible, but the writer of the story has presented it in such a convincing manner that we readily believe in it. So this is probable or likely impossibility. Now coming to the improbable possibility or unlikely possibility. So there are events in real life that are possible, that might happen in real life, but they are presented in dramatic composition in such a manner that they appear unconvincing, that they seem illogical, and we don't believe in them. So Aristotle believes that and advocates that a likely impossibility is preferable to unlikely possibility, that a situation that might not be possible in real life, but dramatists might have skill to present it in convincing manner for the believable construction of plot. If the writer wants to include impossible events or impossible situation in dramatic composition, he must have skill and art to make it convincing and believable. As far as the kinds of plots are concerned, Aristotle believes there are three kinds of plot. One is simple, then comes complex, and then based on suffering. Simple plot consists of straightforward action. There is no reversal of sudden fortune or recognition of truth. In other words, there is no peripety and anagnorisis. Then comes complex plot. Aristotle advocates the adoption of complex plot because it involves peripety and anagnorisis, and through the elements of peripety and anagnorisis, heightened cathartic effect can be produced among the audience. It is also more engaging and more nuanced, and it readily captures the attention of the audience. Oedipus Rex plot can be suited best in this regard. Then comes plot of suffering, and this kind of plot is also not liked by Aristotle. He believes that unnecessary focus on suffering, pain, violence, and torture in order to arouse cathartic effect is highly inartistic, and it should not be advocated. In order to achieve the function of the tragedy, a dramatist should be relying upon action and not on scenes of suffering or long speeches or the spectacle. So, peripety and anagnorisis are two important components of complex plots. Peripety involves a sudden change in circumstances or fortune of the protagonist. It is often unexpected, but it should follow logically from the plot. It often involves irony of circumstances. So here again we would mention Oedipus Rex situation. Oedipus is trying to escape the fatal prophecy, but in order to escape the fatal prophecy, he is falling into the net of that prophecy. So when when your efforts are directed towards one outcome, but the result is quite opposite of your efforts, so this is the irony of circumstances, and irony of circumstances heightens the impact, the shocking impact upon the audience. Then comes anagnorisis. Anagnorisis is a moment of discovery or insight, and it can be a revelation about oneself or the others. Aristotle has described 6 types of discovery in the book Poetics, and we are going to discuss them in detail in one lecture. So, as far as plot structures are concerned, he believes that tragedy revolves around some horrible and destructive action. It involves some murder, some treason, some death. So, Aristotle describes 4 kinds of actions that may happen in tragedy, and it involves people who are friendly and are familiar with each other and who might be belonging to the same family. As Oedipus, take the example of Oedipus Rex, where he kills his own father and marries his own mother. So, in this way, it can serve as a potential tragic plot. If there is any situation where an enemy gets to kill his enemy, nobody is going to mourn the loss. Whereas if a friend gets to kill his friend, then the tragic fact can be aroused among the audience to the maximum point. So there are 4 kinds of action that may happen in tragedy according to Aristotle. The first one is the action in tragedy may be done consciously with the knowledge of the facts. And here he has mentioned the example of Medea. Medea was the play written by Euripides, whereas Medea, the protagonist, kills her children in order to take revenge from her husband. Her husband is involved some kind of extramarital affair, so she wants to take the revenge from him. So in order to take revenge, he kills her children. So that kind of situation, she is very well aware of the facts and the situation that he is killing she is killing her own children. So the horrible deeds is done knowingly and consciously. So this is the first kind of plot structure according to Aristotle. The second is the deed of horror may be done in the ignorance, as happens in the Oedipus Rex. Oedipus doesn't know that he is killing his own father, King Laius, but later on he discovers it. The third case is a person may be about to act with knowledge and then may not act. And this is the worst kind of situation for tragedy, because no horrible deed has been committed at all. So this cannot serve as a potential tragic plot. Then is the fourth case, when someone is about to do an irreparable deed through ignorance, but makes the discovery before the deed is done, and then he refrains from doing the action. So this is the fourth kind of case. In this case, the protagonist is going to kill someone or doing some kind of harm, and then he discovers that the person that is going to kill is somewhere related to him, and then he refrains from doing the murder. So such kind of situation is dealt here. These are the only possible ways. The best way is that deed should be committed in ignorance and the discovery be made afterwards, as in the case of Oedipus Rex. Now moving to the fatal and fortunate plots as described by Aristotle. So fortunate plot, as is evident from the name, is the one in which character moves from misery to happiness. And now the question arises, is it suitable for the tragedy? So you must know that tragedy, according to the Greek people, tragedy meant a serious drama. It does not necessarily involve death and the tragic doom. It was a serious in nature. So now the fatal plot is a plot in which a noble character moves from happiness to the misery, and it's best suited to evoke emotions of pity and fear. So Aristotle advocates for the fatal plot, and he does not believe that fortunate plots are better for the tragedy. Aristotle prefers fatal plots to fortunate plots. He considers Euripides the most tragic of the poets because his plays had unhappy endings. As far as the progress of plot is concerned, plot consists of complication and denouement. Aristotle believes that tragedy can be divided into two parts. One is the complication and the other is the denouement. It can be termed as unraveling or resolution as well. Complication extends from the beginning of the play and it ends till the turning point of the plot. It begins at the start of the play, it builds tension and the conflict, and it ends at the turning point. So all the action from the very start of the play till the start of the turning point can be termed as complication. Now moving to the denouement, it includes the turning point and extends the conclusion of the play. It begins at the turning point, it resolves the conflict and the tension, it ends at the conclusion of the play. It should rely on logical development of the events, not on some intervention of chance or supernatural elements. Aristotle believes that a dramatist should be relying on logical development of events to provide a sense of closure to the whole dramatic composition. It should not include some intervention of chance or supernatural machinery. He should not be going to the gods or goddesses to provide a sense of closure to the dramatic composition. As in Medea, that we have been discussing before, after killing her children, she finds no escape, and then Euripides comes up with a chariot. God descends through with a chariot and takes Medea away. So such kind of a closure is dependent upon supernatural elements, and it is not desirable. It is considered not desirable by Aristotle. It should be aimed towards a single end and not towards a double end. Double end means that where some characters are rewarded and other characters are punished. So here we realize that Aristotle does not believe in the concept of poetic justice, because in poetic justice good characters are rewarded and bad characters are punished. Aristotle does not believe that that at the end of the tragedy some characters should find happy ending and other characters should be doomed. Such kind of ending will dilute the cathartic effect of a tragedy. Normally, three dramatic unities have been linked with Aristotle's poetics. So Aristotle believes in the unity of action, whereas unity of time and unity of place have not been insisted upon by the Aristotle. So coming to the unity of action, Aristotle insists on unity of action. Action must be unified, it must be whole, it must be one. Unity of action is not equal to the character's life, as we discussed earlier, numerous events happen in a person's life. All of them cannot serve to make a good plot. Take the example of Homer's Odyssey. Odyssey revolves around a single action, that is homecoming. Odysseus has been entrapped in some island, and now he is coming back and reunites with his family, so it revolves around the theme of homecoming. So is the case with Iliad, it revolves around Trojan War. A plot should revolve around a single event. All episode of action should be connected through cause and effect. Episodic plot, that is another important concept. Episodic plot has been considered by Aristotle the worst plot, where different episodes are loosely attached without any probable connection. One event is not leading us to the next event. Unity of time, as far as possible, Aristotle states that action should be completed within a single revolution of sun within 24 hours, but he believes that the dramatist should follow this rule as far as possible. It is not a hard and fast rule. As far as unity of place is concerned, it has not been advocated by the Aristotle. So now we can conclude that plot is the foundation of a tragedy. Plot is the imitation of action, and action is represented through plot. Remember that tragedy is not imitation of man, tragedy is not imitation of character, tragedy is not imitation of action or dialogue, it is imitation of action. And action is represented through plot. Plot is arrangement of that action. A well-structured plot leads to effective catharsis. Even Aristotle believes that for achievement of cathartic effect, a dramatist should be relying upon construction of a plot. He should not be focusing on spectacle or character or speeches or depiction of scenes of suffering and other things. Aristotle's guidelines about construction of ideal plot for tragedy are still relevant, are very important. Plot is soul of a tragedy, it is the foundation of a tragedy, it is the skeleton, and it is the most important part of a tragic composition. With it, I will end today's lecture, and I thank you for watching and staying till the end. Thank you.